So moving forward from this point on of this show, like however serious or funny we want to be, there is an absolute, in my viewing lens, there's a curse going on with this, and women are cursed to something. Did they deserve it? My answer, honestly, I believe yes. We deserve what we have, and that's part of the brokenness of where humanity's coming from. Where I look at it, and it's comical at times, but at other times it seems insane, almost like I don't know, man, like the Joker movie. Like there's like this so sick, weird sadness of laughter to everything it's psychotic. And because we don't want to come to terms with the fact that men were put over women out of a curse. We can't fix this curse, right? So without getting too preachy, let's move into the Tucker part of it, because I think we're onto something here. And I don't necessarily want to form my opinion of Andrew Tate yet. I want people to form their opinion. So let's go on.
Charge is that there's an organized criminal group. There's a group of us. I'm
so
the
this
head
is
of
kind
it.
of explaining
My
his
brother is
charges.
below me, and we use the lover boy method to convince women to do TikTok videos to make money so that we can steal the TikTok money.
So there's no, just to be clear, you are not accused of pandering, of pimping, of
No.
forcing women to have sex with anybody.
No, not forcing them to have sex, not restraining their movement, not stopping them from living a full life, but the fact that we are somehow convincing them to have TikTok. Very interesting. I don't think.
But there's no actual. I'm asking you this because I do think it's a widespread belief that you were accused of pimping.
Yeah, no, that's nothing to do with any of this case. Absolutely nothing. And it's kind of scary.
So he says nothing with this
the crime
case.
in itself of human trafficking is a unique one because they can ignore the statement of the victim. So the girls have come forward and said, this is insane. You've just picked us because we're near Andrew and we're his friends. But the whole idea of the crime is they can say that she's brainwashed, right? She's under duress. So you can ignore her statement.
Wow. So essentially they get into this, and he basically goes on from there and says, okay, so Andrew Tate coerced them into making TikToks because he's a good-looking, charming man, and then he took all their money from them. That's trafficking. But when the women come forward and say, well, wait a minute, we know him and he hasn't done any of that, and we haven't done any, there's no money change, there's no anything. And then Tucker Carlson goes on and says, so basically they're accusing you of coercion. And then when the women come forward, they coerce them and telling them that their opinion doesn't matter and you're going to listen to us.
Yeah.
It's just garbage. That right there alone. So I'm going to make a judgment call right now. Because of that scenario, this is a garbage case that they have against him.
They're just trying to get him. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
And regardless of how much of a scumbag he is or whatever, like I don't know much about Andrew Tate other than that he makes women livid. And clearly. And that's it. But he even mentioned the whole pimping thing. That was separate from this. This has nothing to do with what's going on right now.
Right. I mean, clearly, though, they're out to get him. And he's...
Yeah.
So he goes on in the interview. And like I said, it's a very, very long interview. It is a good interview, though, because it does talk about masculinity, toxic masculinity, roles, and things of that nature. But again, through my filter and the way that I view life and the way that I see things, men being above women, it's a curse. It really is. It was never meant to be that way. I just want to be clear about that. So for women to be their hearts pricked or frustrated, it's part of that enmity, the struggle, if you will, of what's going on in this existence. And I think that it's diminished when you have a guy like Andrew Tate just keep pushing the fact that this is a traditional role. This is what we need, and he's right. But it needs to be addressed that it's a curse.
Yeah.
And it's not a good thing. So how then should men act towards their women if it's a curse? Shouldn't we ease the burden of that curse?
Yeah. And I mean, it even, scripture also talks about, what is it? Like dying to yourself for your wife. Like men are supposed to do that.
That's right. And I don't hear him talk about that at all.
No. And that's where he kind of, he is a very materialistic person who believes that men earn all their own things through their mindset and what they do.
Right.
So.
Well, I'll tell you too, that video that you played of him, and he said he watched this $400,000 car go, and he's like, oh, I'm going to go, his friend said, I'm going to go take a nap. I don't care that anybody drives a $400,000 car, and it's not going to make me wake up in the morning. I would be the guy that would want to go take a nap. Now, do I want to make money? Do I want to be successful? I would say that maybe our end would be to provide for our families, but I don't necessarily look at money and status as huge gains and something that I chase after.
Yeah,
right? Like
not at all.
I want peace in my life. I want to be healthy. I want to have joy. I want to be kind. Yeah. And I struggle with that, to be honest with you, especially nowadays. Like the lines have been drawn so deep and distinct in the sand that any type of kindness that I even portray comes off as toxic.
Yep.
It's just crazy. So I think that like with this interview and here's this guy sitting in prison. But what I do want to say though is like, kind of freaks me out, because if you become any type of influence on society and they don't like it, and it goes against what whoever's pushing what the norm is supposed to be, sounds like you can just get thrown away. You can get
pretty
locked
much.
up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of terrifying. I mean, but Jesus was a pretty big influencer.
Yeah, that's true.
Look what they did to him. Gandhi. I mean, there's people, I mean, even John Lennon. I don't mean to put John Lennon, Gandhi, and Jesus in the same category, because I don't think that but they did make huge influential changes in a society that weren't ready for it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, even like Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
He wasn't a great person at all.
No.
He was actually a horrible person, was known to sexually assault women. He had multiple mistresses, really awful person. But his core values and beliefs were life-altering for millions and millions of people.
Allegedly. He was allegedly a bad person.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for that. I'm supposed to be the one keeping you in check.
Right.
But that's what happens.
Yeah.
People don't like change or truths or reality.
Right.
And if it doesn't fit the narrative, the current narrative, they silence you or cancel you now. That's just being canceled.
Yeah.
That's what happens. We have 2 more clips, though, of this interview with Tucker and Andrew.
Tate, kind of an outlaw,
Yep.
lives in some palace in Romania, wherever that is.
Yep.
He's kind of
And
explaining other people's views
Romania
of him.
sounds like the kind of place where human trafficking is like the main industry.
A lot of it happens here. That's what's so crazy about it, right? What's so crazy is if they really want to find a human trafficker, I think they could probably do it quite easily. But they managed to get me.
That's certainly the perception. But it's one of those charges that kind of sells itself.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you're found guilty or not, right? You're a human trafficker.
See, and this is what we were just talking about.
But I do think that public consciousness is changing. I think with things like there's been some very large court cases recently involving some very famous people in which women were caught lying, trying to slander men's names for
Johnny
these
Depp
kinds of
and
things.
Amber Heard.
And I don't think people believe it anymore. But that scares me to a degree, because I think that the typical weapon, the standardized playbook, is now failing, and I don't know what the new playbook's going to be. It's almost like better the devil you know. That you're too famous, you're too successful, we don't like you. Call him a rapist or a human trafficker, put him all over the news, slander his name, try and wreck his life. Now that nobody believes it, what's the next move? What are they going to try next?
So there's a couple things that really, just going back and watching that again, I don't know why my brain goes off on these tangents, but I got really disturbed when Tucker Carlson was laughing when he said that Romania has actual sex trafficking. I didn't find anything funny about that.
Yeah.
You just witnessed a clip from our Getting a Grip on Things podcast. If you enjoyed watching that and you gotta have more and you're not melting through it, make sure that you watch us and listen to our full show anywhere you get your podcast. You guys are the best. Thank you.